There are a few teams. Do you have this team saved actually somewhere? Like, you just have a good memory.
It's somewhere on my laptop, somewhere there.
That's crazy that we have archives of things that should have been recycled about our past.
What's making
Mission impossible, I gotta save it. Let's bring it to his table, you'll see his capital.
The crazy thing actually is, I think I remember when we were recording this.
Oh yeah.
It was just on the desk, literally.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't have any.
I think it was one of those headphones.
Headphones.
It's not even like a proper.
And we just like, I remember someone to send a beat, and then we're like, alright, let's go through all the beats that we have. I was telling him that I used to be a rapper, he used to laugh. I used to want to be a rapper, basically.
Yeah.
And he used to laugh, like,
the baggy outfits.
everyone wanted to be a rapper. Yeah, actually, I had when I met Dave, actually, there was a picture of like James baggy outfit just walking on the road, going to the bus stop.
it's quarter time?
Yeah.
Like he could fit two of his legs in one.
When you watched all the movies and you seen all the fashion, it was always crazy when everybody was going, okay, the slim fit. I was like, nah, I'm a hard guy, I'm going to keep wearing the baggies. Now I'm so slim that I don't even know. I don't think I ever have anything baggy in my. But then, I used to have the baggy jeans and the flat caps and the rags, or we used to have the do-rags, thinking we want to be rappers.
Yeah.
And there's like, I mean, shout out to Lecrae, man. It's too much inspiration thinking we could.
That is true. Lecrae, Copley, all them guys.
Thinking we could be them. We didn't know it was too much work to always come up with creativity. Flow. What do you call those things where you have the double entendres?
Yeah.
Not just the basic da.
Yeah, it's not easy to be an entertainer.
No, entertainment is like, I mean, nowadays, like, I appreciate like a lot of like entertainment, like
The work that goes into it.
the work that goes into it, the creativity, the talent. So
But with the Milwaukee jersey.
I'm just not repping another jersey, you know. It's I actually thought I had I don't think I ever had a Arsenal jersey because I never supported Arsenal. No, we actually did.
You had Arsenal shot.
We had Arsenal. We actually got Arsenal jersey when we went to the stadium.
Yeah. But this was like how many decades ago?
This was like 2008.
Yeah, almost 2 decades ago.
Actually, it could have been cool to actually bring the pictures of like when the Arsenal jerseys and we went to the Highbury Stadium.
Yeah.
Some of you Arsenal fans never knew there was the Highbury Stadium. All you know is Emirates. But I'm not even an Arsenal fan. There's just.
Yeah, but Arsenal
I'm sure for you all that's
finally won the league 22 years later.
22 years.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That means
So, last time they won was 2004. Yeah. Like, was that the Invincibles or what? Anyway, it's been a long time coming. So, to all the Arsenal fans out there, we see you. We celebrate with you.
I celebrate with you all taking down Man City because as a Liverpool fan, I actually say I'm a bandwagon fan because I remember I used to be a fan of Bolton Wanderers.
Oh my goodness.
Because of JJ Okocha.
Yeah, Bolton. Where are they now?
I actually remember we're actually teams still. What's going on? So it's just cool to be fan of a team that I used to be a JJ Okocha fan, basically. So I'm a fan of
Revolt.
So I'm a fan of everything he did. I loved his style, but then when they got relegated, I started finding another club.
And went Liverpool.
Liverpool. You never walk alone.
I don't know what Liverpool did this season though.
This season was just
now Salah is gone, so
to be honest, like I'm not really like Salah's time had passed.
has it?
I think it has generally. I mean, he had some really good finesse, like to get in his last few games. But yeah, I think it was alright. Barcelona fan also. I'm a bandwagon fan, even on the NBA too.
No.
I went from the Lakers to the Warriors.
I never supported Miami hits for
Nigeria. I never thought I was going Miami hits. Miami what?
Back in the Dreamweight days.
Nah. I've never been a LeBron fan.
Yeah, that's
Like, I was a LeBron fan. Like, I used to be like a LeBron hater, but yeah, talking about greatness. you have to just appreciate greatness. So
Real recognize real, you know.
no, it's cool, man. Greatness is always like super appreciated. Hard work, clapping for Arsenal, clapping for you. Also was coaching my church's soccer team this Saturday, yesterday,
Yes.
and we did win. So shout out to
There you go.
our squad. Although I was making some interesting changes,
I can just imagine you as a coach. Like you need to coach to win, but you're not coaching to make everybody happy.
So Samuel, which you don't want me. I mean, actually, you don't want a winning team, but you don't want me to overwin.
So it's like you hear from the guys communicate.
I was like, the winning team is the communicating team. You have to
Wow.
communicate.
Yeah.
I was actually, the guys were actually really good, but I felt so tired just from coaching.
That's from coaching.
I didn't feel jack. When I got back home at 6 p.m., I slept till the next. All I did, I did help with the setup and stuff, but all I did was coach, and my body woke up today. I was really tired. I'm like, dude, all I had to do was coach.
Yeah, but then you take on the stress of the entire team as a coach, you know?
I'm always worried. I'm always seeing things that I'm like, I can't do. But I'm like, you guys, fix this.
So much pressure.
But I felt like I was actually just chilling. That's crazy. But I hope like I'm coaching the women's team next. The next team I just did like a stepping coach because we actually do have a really good coach. Hopefully the women's team actually. So it's been a good greatness sports. Not good at too much sales, which is what you are doing too.
If you're in Ottawa, we're playing again on Saturday. So every Saturday this summer.
Come on, see each out. The communicating team is the winning team.
My God. Where are you guys playing the games though?
Carlton.
Okay.
Carlton University. Talking about people that don't communicate. Alberta.
Wow. Great segue. Great segue. What's good? Alberta was all over the news this past week.
Yeah, with Kanye, separating from Canada, I'm like, dude,
It's crazy guy. That's why he was listening to the majority. Because he knows that he's gonna be riddled with all these kind of side quests
for
the entire government.
that's the thing with the majority though, like people don't give you breaks once you have a majority. It's almost like people start expecting things, and then also when you're in a minority, people feel like you always have to come and get a consensus
by all the
and
teams and the haters and everybody.
Kanye needs a vacation.
Please.
Dude makes like one huge like deal, next thing everything is falling apart on the other side.
Every deal he has made is a vacation as far as I'm concerned.
Well, like the fact that he's able to go from Alberta to BC, here to BC this week, I think. The fact that it's like, dude, what do you not think?
That's the natural progression, because all the promises he keeps making to Alberta will be futile if BC does not get on board.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hopefully he's doing
All the promises will also be futile if Alberta leaves.
Alberta is not going anywhere. How long has Quebec been screaming on the top of their lungs to go?
Bro.
Alberta has just been kind of instigated in the
I
last
think Alberta just wants Quebec status. Being part of Canada, but just Quebec status.
I can see why Alberta will want to separate. Quebec, I don't fully understand their plight, but
French, man.
yeah, but like, how does separating help you achieve anything? Alberta, you can see how they've been kind of systematically oppressed.
They are not the system. Oppressed is the wrong word.
It's a strong word.
It's a strong word.
I can see it.
Like Alberta have been flourishing for decades.
Yeah, of course they're flourishing. They are literally printing money for the government of Canada.
So that's really
like they're not getting the same level of representation that Quebec gets, for example.
So basically I think we're talking about the idea of equalization where Canada takes from the haves and then gives to
they have
when they have not, it's like we have different.
If you take Canada at a macro level, micro level, you can just see we're just barreling down towards socialism. Like it's just
See socialism in this. Socialism. Dude, all you take is basically saying not everybody has oil. So Alberta's oil is not just Alberta's oil, it's Canada's oil.
See that kind of, so not everybody has oil, but everybody has something that can generate revenue.
Yeah, Alberta doesn't have certain things, and they take it from other people that have certain things.
Great, but let's all have equal seats at the table.
That's also another thing that Canada is also trying to do. I think it goes back to how all the handshakes were done to form Canada, because Alberta is like, oh, we want to select our judges, senators, figuring out our immigration, the quotas that you're just assigning to us from Ottawa. We want to take control of that.
Once again, because they feel like they're just getting shafted all over the place. Like they don't, like, their voice is not being heard even on things that impact Alberta. Like,
but come on, at least in Carney's government, Alberta, your voice has been heard. Your voice has been overheard, bro. It's like really serious. Carney has given them everything that they wanted at his
Carney has not given anybody anything. Carney has showed up and taken a few pictures with Madam Smith, but he has not given.
He has given them a memorandum of understanding. He has given them carbon tax removal. He has given them carbon tax reducer.
See, the government doesn't need to give them things. They want to be seen and heard.
But we see.
They want to have a seat at the table.
Smith, hi Barris. I see you. You are valued. I hear you. What are the therapy talks that we're telling you in my own sessions? Like, how do you feel in your body right now? On a scale to 1 to 10. What are your emotions?
You are smart.
You should be beautiful. You matter. To be fair, with no jokes, Alberta, you do matter, actually.
Of course they do. Now, once again, all of these are just words. What they need is seats at the table.
Bro, we are giving you, like, Carney has this whole 1 year of Carney has been MOU for only one province. In fact, all the other provinces should even start looking around as like, who are we?
All the other provinces need to step up their game.
So, Alberta should realize that at least for Carney's government, it's as priority as it's been energy, Alberta. So why the separation talk? In fact, Danielle Smith, why are you even encouraging the separation talk?
She's just leading her people.
Leading which people? Alright, trying to just like fan the flames of referendum.
So let's see what has actually. So on May 21st, so a couple of days ago, Madam Smith announced that there will be a question on the upcoming provincial referendum.
The former one, Madam Smith.
What?
What did they call the other guys? Mr. Ford.
Yes. Like Ontario.
Yeah.
No, Ford is just Ford.
That's Madam Smith.
Madam Smith. So, she's claiming it's not a direct vote to separate. Although the two questions, it can be tricky. It's like, number one, should Alberta remain in Canada? Or should the government begin the constitutional process required to hold a binding provincial referendum on separation later? Did she get these questions from Carney? It just sounds like Carney.
I think you're about to say this question from AI. Because that sounds like what AI would
sound like. That, like, I'm like, you can shave off 50% of that sentence. And
also, that seems like there's no right answer to that question.
Yeah, it's like people will be there like, which one do I select? Is it two questions? Is it one question that's either or? Like, I'm like...
Yeah, like, no, Canada should not leave, but it does that mean that we should begin the process for a referendum?
Exactly, that's strategic.
What you're saying is
security.
Madam Smith taking a page from some ambiguous politicians' books.
Like Marcani, that's
no. Carney is as clear as it gets, my guy.
Come on,
more like this is more like some of these politicians that don't know, or they know what they're doing, but they're just making it like, like putting the spice in there.
Yeah,
but it's not going to put everything.
Yeah, no. This is very Carney-esque. You add a bunch of like, there's a guy on LinkedIn that I follow, Seamus Harvey, and he does these like Zoom meetings with like obviously 6 of him, but like playing different characters, and then they're all just speaking business jargon, not making any sense. This is classic.
I really wish I can speak business, guys.
Like, let me teach you. Just put your hand like this,
dude.
So you say anything, and every sentence you're right. It's like, So we need to figure out the KPIs for the metrics, right?
So what do you just do now? What are the KPIs? What are the metrics?
KPIs, OKRs, metrics, right? It's like,
And then like you have to talk always. Let's take a step back.
let's take a step back. Let's piggyback off of that. How does that impact the bottom line? Right? Starting from a strategic overview, there's headwinds.
Really, why I'm so bad at all of this.
That's gonna move the needle. 2%, 1%. That's all we need, right? For the customers to feel that they're. How do we maximize customer
I'm so
retention?
bad at business jargons.
Okay.
I'm so bad at all these projects. In fact, like one of the things I'm allergic to in this season also to
Wow.
some of these jargons of processes of talking, not in processes of doing, processes of talking.
Yeah. Just words that you put them together. It sounds fancy, but
Yeah,
it doesn't mean much.
So, the reason I'm saying like Danielle Smith is trying to do spices when we don't need spices is this thing was already dead in the water.
Yeah, because the judge struck it down. Yeah, but here's the thing. She's leading people that, yes, the majority, according if you listen to the mainstream media, the majority wants to stay part of Canada. To the group that wants to separate, all she will do is create riots and protests. Now, those people also want to be seen and heard.
So what you're saying now is she's doing socialism. She's trying to attach everybody's concern with
What she's doing is democracy. It's like, how about we all come together and vote on this topic?
So we vote,
and then we're happy with the outcome.
they're not going to be happy with every outcome that's going to hear. You're voting to vote again.
Sure. Like I said,
This is as
she gets money and then come and riot on the streets tomorrow.
yeah, but so when I go and vote, all of us, oh, my voice is heard, my voice is heard, my voice is heard. And then it's like, yeah, your voice is heard. And what we heard is you want us to set up a legally binding vote.
Sure. You just keep kicking the can. Classic politics 101. This is, like I said, it's taking straight
Oh my goodness.
to Justin Trudeau Marcani playbook. What is the MOU about? Is an MOU is a framework for us to create future MOUs, create future plans for future decision-making meetings.
When you put it that way,
Classic Marcani.
Justin Trudeau. When you put it that way, when you put it that way, that makes you. If you go back a year, if you feel the MOU was. What has happened is that we set up an MOU to get to a point where we can finalize the price of the carbon and the rate at which it's going to increase. We now finalize the price of the carbon. What's going to happen? Okay, now we need to make sure that we start the carbon capture project, so that also make sure we have a private proponent to bring about a pipeline.
That was the other thing he brought up. I'm like, guy, what are you saying? Like, just smoke and mirrors. That's all.
I mean, to be fair, this is like the only way this. Like, can you just come and set up a pipeline? Can you just come and set up carbon capture in province? Can you just come and set up the carbon pricing?
But we have made a good point this week. When the Russia-Ukraine war started,
Yeah.
and Germany neared a pipeline for their energy infrastructure, in less than 1 year,
The pipeline should
it stood up.
Can we don't need the pipeline? We don't have Russia fighting.
When there is a war, there is a war. We don't have Russia fighting.
We don't have Russia fighting us.
Energy needs, and we
had our elbows up.
had our elbows up. Issues of sovereignty. We want to be sovereign. We want to be this. We want to be respected on the world stage. Blah blah blah. We don't want to be treated like the junior brother of the U.S. And then all of a sudden, just smoke and mirrors. Everything has disappeared, right? So it's no longer elbows up. It's now elbows on the table. That's documents.
No, to be fair, politicians were always politic.
They were always politic,
and also it is politicking literally crazy right now.
Yeah,
she's literally not even. She doesn't really let us know what her stance is.
No, she's been very clear about that. She wants Alberta to remain a part of.
So why don't you lead your province to stay in Canada?
Because she's not a dictator.
You're not a dictator, but you have been democratically elected.
Mm-hmm.
So are you saying people that democratically elected you don't align again with your judgment on where you want the people to go?
The people that democratically elected her elected her to listen to their concerns and their feelings.
Yeah, she has listened to your concerns, but I think it's best for Alberta to stay in Canada.
And she has said so, but she's giving them a voice through the democratic process that's allowed in the referendum.
I mean, really good politics. Well, I don't think this is how you. I don't think this is how you like. People that play both sides get burnt, basically.
Yeah, she's probably going to get burnt.
Like this is not the way to properly. And the funny thing is, you're doing it right after Carney just left the province with a good agreement on what will happen July 1st.
I wouldn't say good agreement.
There's a good agreement in place, so what is going to happen?
See, Alberta. Here's what Alberta needs. Alberta just needs to flourish as a province to the extent that they are capable of. Where all of these side quests are coming from the fact that how do we have an abundance of energy and the province will struggle with minor issues? Like, there should not be homelessness in Alberta. There should not be energy shortage. There should not be job shortage. Like, none of these things should exist in the country or in the province. I'm already calling it a country.
See, man. I don't know whether you're like drinking your own YouTubes. But the whole country within you're already talking like Quebec.
I don't want them to separate. I don't think they should separate. It doesn't make sense for them to separate. Like, what's the plan? That doesn't gonna exist there between British Columbia and Saskatchewan. Like, so it makes no sense. But they just want to make sure that for a province that's generating wealth, it should be reflected in the people that are there.
So the time that Alberta was generating wealth and everybody had to help out. What's
No, it's fine to help. That's why they should all stay together. Alberta is helping out, but they don't have a voice. They don't have a voice in Ottawa. They need voice.
There's a time Alberta had the voice in Ottawa, but they did not have a way to help out.
And they were helped.
Yeah, so I'm saying this is just what the country does.
No, that's not just. See, the problem is you overstimulate Ontario and Quebec, and they have voices all over.
And but they're the largest also.
Population-wise, sure. Revenue generation-wise,
Ontario and Quebec probably also generates revenue. I mean, now that the auto industry is decimated, maybe not, but...
And I'm not talking about, like, tax revenue. That's not what I'm talking about, because that's just mafia behavior. I'm talking about generating revenue from global trade.
Yeah, just generating something that is useful, products, commodities. Alberta is doing that, Saskatchewan is doing that. And probably also does that with the mining, to be fair, like in some sense. But probably can be better. What does BC do?
BC has ports.
Oh, well, yeah, they do have ports.
So, I mean, they are kind of the gateway to that global trade. BC also has a pretty good agriculture industry. Once you start going down the Fraser Valley pathway,
and
do they have? They have a few entertainment, movies,
tech also is
a bit of a tech hub there and a bit of a finance hub there as well.
And expensive houses too.
They have expensive houses, man. It's
yeah. To be fair, I think Alberta, like Dan Smith, is just doing some interesting politicking. Actually, don't know if like also probably a way to hold her party together. Maybe that's the only reason I would think about this, because maybe 2 or 3 people in the party are just loud separatists for no reason. Versus having a separate party that comes out of your party.
That's what I'm saying. She's just trying to, kind of play this dance. I'm not saying it's the best way to do it, but she's playing a dance there, and we'll give her some time and see what comes out of it. Because like Alberta, a few good things have come out of Alberta, especially since she's been in charge. Like, especially on the technology front, like they've done some really good things.
The one that they're just chopping out the data center energy left, right, and center, and just taking like CC water.
The solution to the
I don't know what Alberta is doing. All I know they're doing is they're taking the whole electricity for the whole country and putting it in one person's pocket.
A data center. AI data center. I mean, see, there's a price to be paid for it. They want to do sovereign AI in Canada. And so
why do you take the whole electricity for a city and just use it for one building? I thought you have energy. Use the energy you're generating to generate. You need to be on the electrical grid or anything.
Yeah, they also have lots of snow and stuff. Like I feel like they should be able to do
Yeah,
something.
we should be able to do a lot of
Why don't
things.
we use
Like
like the snowing?
one of the provinces that snow falls all year round.
Pretty much, yeah. Sometimes September, first week of September, they have snow. So like they should use all that snow and ice and whatnot for something like.
But also to talking about like the environmental issues in Alberta and but the electric grid, like some of the MPs, like about 12 or so, I don't know if you saw that story, about 14 MPs, no, Liberal MPs, wrote a letter to Carney raising concerns about the environmental backslide.
Oh, so they're pissed that Carney is not as much of a tree hugger as he used to be.
Yeah. They just pissed them like that behavior. Yeah, but none of them want to see how they. I know the Liberals for sure. But at least he will like step down and he's like, dude, I can't be part of the cabinet.
Yeah, it is conscience, blah blah blah.
I mean, if you're a man of integrity, be a man of integrity. Some people that I just don't understand is you are fighting for this environmental stuff in through this era, but you find them sitting down.
I don't know, politics integrity. There's always something. You know, they claim environmental concerns and conscience, but there's somebody in their ear that's putting money in their pocket and lobbying them to do. So politics and integrity don't really go hand in hand.
You see, I'm a man of integrity where I don't have a horse in the race. I just have a couple million in my account to fight for this. But yeah, for me at least, I know like Guru has always been an activist. He's always been vocal. So what I like to see with politicians, just try to be a bit consistent. That's the only thing I don't like. Not like I don't like about the floor questions that happened earlier on, but just the fact that if you're crossing the floor, it makes sense for you to be center crossing the floor, because Kanye is actually center. But if you're someone that was the Sudbury, it wasn't even from Winter, is it? Sudbury, maybe. Was this Sudbury? Maybe.
Would not be. I don't know.
But she was not
allowed.
She was
It makes no sense.
all of a sudden you're going to find something just because of political carry. It's like, dude, man, like, feel like again in an AI world where jobs are going to be lost, you don't want to lose your job, you want to be employed. So something I probably would is a survival instinct, but you have to give at least people that are very consistent on their belief system. And at least Stephen Gugu, that's one thing I'll say is good. Him, but he probably led this cabal of 14 MPs to write a letter to Carney and try to stir up something that's going on. And it's like, hey, just so you know, we're not happy. Just so you know, we're not happy. Just so you know, we're not happy.
It's not going to gather any steam. Like the appetite for those environmental concerns is not as high as it used to be. I'll say now with the AI data centers is starting to come up more and more, especially what's going on in the States. But I don't know. Like I think in Canada the appetite for sovereign AI and sovereign data centers and sovereign this is stronger than
nothing that you say. There's no sovereign anything.
There's enough hype around it.
There's no sovereign anything. Even the women own it. When you say sovereign, the people own it. The AI that in Canada is going to not be owned by anybody. It's owned by one man maybe, or two men, or probably owned by the same people that own. It's like saying you have sovereign groceries.
Hello.
We don't have sovereign groceries. We don't have sovereign telecommunication. We don't have
sovereign anything. Like in this kind of globalized world.
We just have a handful of people who own everything and they're Canadian.
Even then, so for example, Cohere is kind of the poster child for sovereign AI in Canada.
Yeah.
But pretty much all of the infrastructure is built on non-Canadian
and also to
infrastructure.
I think we even merged with a German company too, which is
I'm pretty sure one of the principal funding is coming from the US. There's all kinds of like hands in the pot with Cohere. So like it's tough to claim sovereign here. Like I mean, unless the government is gonna join the Europeans with switching out of Microsoft Office and Windows and there's no sovereignty anymore.
But where they switch to? There's no Canadian alternative though.
Yeah, they can take like a fork of an open source project and then make it Canadian and then secure it and so, always just hype. I think everything is just politics is one of those games where you're just kind of navigating public perception and the way public is responding to. Okay, make a small tweak here, see what they say. Okay, let's cut score.
Yeah, right, I'm realizing some of these things are coming out because there's this thing that they're trying to ask all the streamers to do. The Netflixes and the Amazon Prime that spend
they spend in Canada.
That spend in Canada and then 15% of your spending budget should go into like primarily Canadian indigenous content. Right, so
they just repackaged what they did to news media. And now
like sometimes I go to the Canadian social media pages like this is not available in Canada. Like brother, like I'm in Canada. This is a Canadian article. Where else would someone be reading something? TBC Instagram, for example, or something like.
Yeah, the government has a way of regulating Canada out of the global playing field. Like we just regulate ourselves out of importance or relevance. Like I don't know why we keep doing it to ourselves, and it's like somebody would have done cost benefit analysis like, okay, well, if we do this and then all these companies decide to leave, what are we left with? It seems like nobody's doing those things. Like
maybe they also like if they leave they were never with us in the first place.
Okay, that's a very interesting that's why
we left a CBC content.
Socialism wants
to control media is control media.
CBC is the only freely accessible, like high level media company. Anybody, National Post, Global Mail, anybody, there's always a paywall that's blocking you.
Yeah. CBC and CTV are the ones that go through. But yeah, like even though it's not just like but I'm saying like we also have good TV shows. Like King's Convenience. Was it a CBC show that did the
CBC show? They did Convenience. CBC is also the ones under fire right now for their prank on RCMP people.
What did they do?
They did some sort of prank it was a prank on a show that was targeted at RCMP officials, and it was not.
But is it when I saw somebody like handcuffing something? Or?
I did not watch it. I just saw it was all over social media last week.
Interesting.
Yeah, RCMP, all the organizations that support police, peer police. Everybody was like state-funded media making fun of the police like that. How the CBC executives did not see these headlines is wild to me.
That's interesting.
RCMP officers
because RCMP officers are not really like they're not really in the news for anything crazy.
Yeah, well,
I wonder how you prank an RCMP officer. What do you tell them? You just tell them like you have no horses to ride on, or
are you making fun of our mountains?
Who's the RCMP?
That's what the Mounties. That's federal police, no?
Oh, see, I don't understand like the police hierarchy.
RCMP is federal police. Then you have Ontario Provincial Police, for example. In Ontario, you have BC Provincial,
and we have city police.
You have Ottawa police.
What is a Mountie?
RCMP people.
So RCMP people have Mounties because I think
Canadian mounted police.
So that's mounted on horses, right?
Well, they used to be.
So basically, the prank was basically somebody calls the like a couple RCMP people to a studio and then they play like a a recording of King Charles saying that they're dissolving RCMP. Like all the things that they've done.
Let's include that.
It's unscripted. So they called a bunch of RCMP folks under the pretense that they were doing a documentary titled "After the Call" to honor their policing service. This is just wild. And then they include a fake live address from King Charles. Like it just makes no sense.
That's wild, CBC. That's wild.
It also accounts for all the wrongs that the force had committed against First Nations.
That's why you are pranking them?
No, No, like that's what the fake video said. Like it's the reason.
Oh, I see. Over systemic failures and residential schools and blah blah blah. That's why they deserve. Oh. Also, so King Charles still owns Canada. I mean, he made a joke about it when he was in.
Yeah. I wonder, like, if there ever be a time. That's probably what we should be doing referendums for Alberta.
So Alberta can never separate because they don't own themselves.
I guess we should focus on referendums from
Level.
Which is national level. We should separate it from the town. So before they come out, as we know, I'm just telling Alberta, you know. I'm telling Alberta, something becomes unless if it's something you really want to figure out. Canadians don't really care, to be honest. We've not had a really bad experience with the crown.
It's mostly ceremonial, but it's still there. Like,
same thing with our federalism. It's like
where's the risk of that kind of thinking? It's the same way we felt like we were the ceremonial younger brother to the US.
Ceremonial and somebody decided 51st state, and then it's like, nope, was up, and then we basically just scattered that.
Sorry, so back to the video.
What happened?
So like someone was saying that it's by like a satirical program. It's called Northland Hills, and it's apparently run by 3 indigenous activists.
So like the bulletin for TV, like on the so the bulletin they do like this whole satirical comedy news site where they just make jokes on articles.
It's like, so basically the prank was like pranking like retired RCMP people on like saying that it's being dissolved because of like wrongs against First Nations people. So
yeah,
but then it's by First Nations. Like
yeah, that seems very like targeted. It's like like
I mean, they're targeting the people that did the wrongs to them.
yeah, but then all the people that we are pranking on the people that did the residential schools. One of those things where generations later
we're involved in an organization that is
it's just a bad idea.
So obviously if it's CBC it's going to look bad, but CBC also probably created and helped fund this TV program and scripted show. So basically everybody begins to point to CBC. There's not CBC that's in this. This is just people that are.
Wait, CBC no.
I mean,
it has the CBC logo on it. It's like
it's comedy. The we say the comedian that is there is going to be CBC.
You can do comedy, but don't pull people in. Like, don't pull police officers or retired police officers and try to I don't know. Like, you don't have the social capital to do that kind of comedy. Dave Chappelle can go and do comedy and bash any group of people he wants because he has the social capital.
The Chappelle will have okay, it's audience.
Yeah. CBC does not have the audience for what they did.
CBC actually has a huge audience.
They have a huge audience, but the audience is interested. At least not a big enough chunk of the audience is interested in that.
We apologize for this. I think it's a comment to pause the show. So just taking people's phone before.
So here's what I think. I think that maybe like
joking on that.
No, it's not necessarily a joke about like to someone's point of like building street cred or like actually like with people as opposed to with like corporations. So what like Black comedians on a really, really high level have been able to do is they've been able to make a world for themselves where they can like say truths, wrap it in comedy, but like not get cancelled for it because they have people behind them. I don't know if like First Nations people necessarily have the Canadian people behind them where they can like be bold and like say things, wrap it in comedy and be like, oh, it's actually.
Also, I don't even know if those people are speaking for
different people,
or even like because there are multiple identities in all of this that have been harmed over the years, right? So we even targeted the people that are behind it.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I think in general, First Nations peoples, at least from like personal experience I've seen when I first moved to Canada, I moved to like I was in a pretty like high populated First Nations like city, and yeah, white people are First Nations are not.
No, I'm just saying, like, even within the First Nations too, like, that's one thing I was really interested, like, mind-boggling to me. Like, it's not even just one, like, First Nations is one of them, there are other indigenous communities.
Yeah, there's Métis,
And so on and so forth. And even within those, it's very, very interesting how, and it's pretty simple that most people would have observed in Black Americans or African Americans, that there's some division that shows up interestingly. Like Alberta will fully say, "Oh, we've consulted with certain type of." This is interesting.
significant indigenous consultations. We've decided, and we only spoke to one tribe of one nation.
Really, maybe you just find one chief that's part of their own party, and then 100 other chiefs they won't align with that one chief. In fact, it's like, so it's interesting. Yeah, CBC pretty is trying to diversify, but fully diversify in different campaigns that she was.
So the indigenous artists, they should have done stand-up comedy, for example, and just said whatever jokes they wanted to say about residential.
Yeah.
And their audience came there to watch them.
Yeah.
It's
So then the fact that we were just calling someone thinking, okay, I'm coming to something else, and then it's like, oops.
So yeah, he dragged police officers,
And it's not even like a fun, like, thing that you're saying something that is
so
like,
deep.
like, is this why I got up early in the morning to show up here?
Has heard of stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So it's a couple episodes in, but I don't.
You know, like, really loves.
It's by CBC.
Yeah, CBC produces a lot of these.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good example of being able to like boldly share some history wrapped in something that's like palatable to the general audience while still being able to talk about heavy topics.
True. Yeah.
When you get towards, I finished the first season and I really, really like, I can't wait for it. Hopefully it comes back. But yeah, like towards the end, like you start to like, that's where you start to get into like the deep like history and I guess like deep wounds that people in the north like have against white people in Canada. So, but then it's like I think the main point really is like being able to have it wrapped in a palatable way for the general audience so that they can have your back when like
when it hits the fan. Yeah.
No, but talking about this with reference to Alberta separation, I can see how this will cause a problem when Alberta, if
the choice is separate.
Yeah, because they're going to try to take all this. Like, this is going to be a problem. Madam Danielle, have you talked about this?
There's so many things. There's going to be that problem. There's going to be the problem of King Charles. Like, I'm not supposed to King Charles. What's he trying to do?
So, this is just I'm pretty sure she knows that this is never going to fly.
I said it's not gonna. The same way Quebec has just been there making noise.
This is not going to fly. You don't have to explain to the indigenous. Like, are we going to be part of Alberta? Are we going to be part of Canada? And we will basically right to even decide which part we go. And then you're also going to have, like, talk to the crown and what is going to happen here. Like, so the legal precedent that she's saying that we have to separate and referendum. I'm not sure that legal precedent. It might be if you go ahead legal precedent.
She maybe they get to that point. We'll set the date for after she's out of office. She's not gonna deal with this after that much.
That's crazy. Just to put a time bomb for whoever is going to be the next.
Person will just come in and just scrap the whole thing. Like, yeah, this was not well done. There were gaps here. There were gaps there. You did not meet the minimum threshold. The whole thing will fizzle away in classic political fashion, but.
Yeah, but it's a good one. Yeah, nothing much is a good one.
Yeah, CBC has done some good shows. It's not of North. It's another one I'm pretty sure they've done.
There are a few that they've done that we watched on Netflix specifically, which is interesting. So maybe Netflix is already paying the 15%.
Netflix,
They might be paying the 15%.
Netflix is very aggressive with their growth strategy, so I wouldn't be surprised if
The good CBC show I'm forgetting. For sure, because I was watching the logo that anyways, I don't remember it, but anyways,
was the
I
most.
think that was the huge one. That was young those days. I was like,
How young? You're not that young.
I was young.
Not for
I
sure.
was young.
You're an adult.
Not this one that nowadays I'm losing weight.
I kind of lose weight, man. Like, was that?
I'm trying to be. I find like my new hack now is to take a lot of smoothies with almond butter, peanut butter.
So what's the recipe you're using for these smoothies?
To be honest, I don't know. I just go to Booster, just tell them to give me that new spot.
Okay. See, there was a time last year maybe, like I was going to different places to buy smoothies because I don't know what I was looking for, but I just wasn't getting it. Booster Juice, there are some of their smoothies that I was like, okay, I can see myself. But then most smoothie places they just mix juice.
Yeah, no. This one it's very like thick, and they have like various things in it, and they also can add protein also into it.
I know, but like the base of the smoothie is just juice.
No, this one the base is not juice, so it's more yogurt, vanilla, chocolate, peanut butter, and the protein.
That's good, but like I tried a few and I was just like I don't know, I can literally taste the oranges in it.
Yeah, so like there's something that was fruity.
Yeah.
Like the one that was more yogurt and vanilla. No, it's crazy, but yeah. So, but talking about last episode, people were coming at me, man, for
trying to make Canada a surveillance state.
For trying to make that, and I think people do not understand the position that I was having.
Please explain to us.
Very simple position I'm having, and I don't know why it's hard.
Tell us.
Say also you can help translate this to the masses, and it's very simple. If you watch crime shows, you know this from the get-go where I'm going on this. But it's simple. If an officer is trying to investigate a crime that happened or a suspected criminal, you ask for a warrant, you go get the details of the crime, the conversations of the crime, you ask for a warrant maybe to tap or video the person, you ask for a warrant to go check their office, you ask for a warrant for their emails. Remember when some people were talking about email servers this, email servers that? When you now go and ask for a warrant, the judge gives you the warrant. You go to, let's use emails for example. You go to the email provider. You go to Google, you go to Microsoft, Hotmail, Yahoo. We have a warrant for criminal so and so. Get us the details in the last 2 months of the crime activities. Google says, alright, yes. What's the criminal's name? And you give it, let's say, like, who is
John Doe.
Who is like, unfortunately, you cannot search for John Doe in our database. What do you mean you cannot search for John Doe in your database? We do not save anything about John Doe. Okay, what do you save it as? Give me an email. It's like johndoe@gmail.com. Actually, it's encrypted in our columns. So you can't even search for anything about John Doe at Gmail. You have to give us the encrypted number. It's like, so wait, crime is happening on your platform. You don't have a way to know that crime is happening on your platform.
Because it's encrypted.
So that's what the law is saying. No. That is what they're saying. You cannot allow crime to happen on your platform. And when I come and ask you as an officer on the court.
See how you started with saying you get a warrant before you do any of those things?
Yes.
Bill C-22 has taken all the checks and balances and just thrown them out the warrant. Based on secret ministerial conversations, Bill C-22 is saying they want to go and ask Apple, see, we're going to give you a name. And after we give you the name, you give us the entire purchase history with you, every conversation that has happened on the iPhone.
There is no warrant.
There's no warrant.
You still get a warrant. There's some things that you need a warrant for. The things you need a warrant
for Bill C-22 is way too low.
No.
It's what they're asking.
Just in general, if you think there's an possibility of a crime happening at an expedited rate, you don't need a warrant. In general, you criminal court.
See, with Bill C-22, you don't even need to know if there's a crime happening or not.
You have to prove that there's
a backdoor for government.
There's no backdoor for government. You do not have access to anything. Bill C-22 is just saying, if the government comes with a warrant from the court that to provide information, you cannot now tell the government you cannot provide the information because you don't know how to find the information on your platform.
That's not what Bill C-22 is saying, and it's not the first time they're trying to bring up this weird stuff.
Actually, I'm not a fan of all the previous ones they are trying to do, but this is a very straightforward.
So Bill C-22 introduces provisions that modify how law enforcement can access information without a warrant. So basically, like now, they can now go to a service provider and a telecom service provider and ask if a certain person is using that service provider without a warrant. So they don't need to
So
ask.
they don't need a warrant to ask.
Let me finish.
Let's hear those. So let's hear
Yeah.
the
Yeah, they don't get it.
They don't get the details.
But, however, the bill also allows police to obtain details with a lower standard of quote unquote respectable grounds to suspect as opposed to reasonable grounds to believe. So basically, they need much less evidence than they needed before to like obtain the warrant. So basically, they cannot get name, address, account details, and whatever like devices they're using. So it's supposed to again help crimes be responded to more effectively.
Yeah, they keep creating this false fallacy of like, I say false fallacy, it's the same thing, but false dichotomy is the word I was looking for. Oh, you can either be safe or you can either have privacy or safety. You cannot have both.
No,
It's weird.
Everybody still has privacy in this situation. I'm saying like the issue is when
Privacy.
no. This is when we create a backdoor. There's no backdoor in the government. There's no backdoor for the government.
Backdoor.
The government does not know. When we listen to this whole easy summary of what VPN as I say,
They are asking for a backdoor.
it's not a backdoor. They're just saying that you cannot be running a platform and you don't know what is happening. It's like saying that so if when money laundering happening and you go to the bank and it's like, look, crime proceeds are being laundered on your platform. It's like, oh yeah, who is running it? You give them the name. It's like, actually, we do not know that kind of name on our platform. What we have is a encrypted XY2. Give me the encrypted. I'm like, dude, no. You should be able to know when someone is laundering money on your platform at a bank.
First of all, government people are human beings. They have the same biases and they're prone to the same proclivities like the rest of us.
Yeah.
So the fact that we should have a lower standard for accessing the data of private citizens, it's just a no-no from
lower standard.
It's a lower standard. They've reduced the standard.
Okay, they're reducing the standard for officers and the judge and the peace officers and so on and so forth. I'm just saying they're not putting a backdoor in the.
See, even when there was a high standard with our friend Mr. Trudeau during pandemic, he still overreached and invoked the Emergencies Act without even meeting the threshold. So now you want to now lower the standard and give them. Have you heard of the term power corrupts and absolute power corrupts? Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is what I just did. I just like, you know what? All of you come. Let's just endow you with power. And you can do whatever you want to do.
We can keep the extregent circumstances. I think moving from extregent to I've forgotten what you were saying, like with the reasonable cause to believe. I think that's fine, but the issue these people are running up. In fact, what I would advise the Liberal government, don't even try to change the standards. All you have to say to service providers, specifically telecommunication service providers,
is what?
If crime communication is happening on your phone and we have a reason to suspect it and we get a warrant under the current, before Bill C-22, we get a warrant, you should be able to provide us the details of what is happening.
It's encrypted. What do
you should not be able to say we don't know what is happening on our platform, my guy.
If it's encrypted,
then your service is not legal.
Because it's encrypted.
Because you cannot tell what is happening on your platform.
Encryption is not encryption is there to protect people. It's not an illegal thing.
See, you can ask Fido.
Yeah.
Get me the messages of this criminal John Doe. Fido can give you under the current laws. Fido can give you all the messages.
Okay, and so what?
You can go to email providers, get me the email of this criminal, and they'll be able to give you all the criminals. But there are some of these platforms, you go and ask them, and they'll be telling you you're speaking Chinese. That is the one I would line up with you when people are saying backdoor. That's what they ask. That's what they're asking for, because Apple is not running a platform Apple has to comply for everything on their own servers. Apple does not have to comply on anything on your own personal server or your own personal phone. Apple cannot even have access to your phone. Is not a service provider. The cloud is a service provider. Apple is not providing you a service of
So
a
when you're
phone.
saying Apple should provide anything that you've uploaded to iCloud.
Apple should be able to provide anything for
any
warrant, everything that is on their own server as a service provider. They should be able to provide it with a warrant.
Like I don't know which BLC 22 you read.
No, that's what I'm trying to push for. I'm saying I'm trying to push for. I'm telling you what they're not saying for here. I feel like I agree with you that the using of the from the reasonable justification to just a believable
Using the threshold for accessing the data is a terrible idea. Number two, asking service providers to create a backdoor. Terrible idea.
We're asking service providers to be able to provide the information. However, you want to receive that to be safe for the viewers.
We can keep it ambiguous, but they're essentially asking for a backdoor in some cases, not all cases.
No, they're just saying that as a service provider, if you get a warrant request for information, you should be able to provide it, especially if the services are happening on your platform. You should not be able to give any excuse that you yourself as a service provider cannot provide a warrant and the data for the warrant. You should not be giving the like other telecommunication providers don't have that. Fiber, Google, Fiber, Rogers, Telos, banks, they don't have the privilege of allowing crime to happen on their own service.
See, I have so many issues with the whole thing. So all of these things you're saying, sure, you can keep you're giving the government too much credit as far as I'm concerned. Let's go back to the example of the pandemic when they invoked the emergencies because a bunch of truckers were coming to us. They did it despite having days and weeks of knowledge. They had an abundance of knowledge and evidence, and yet they were unprepared for a bunch of truckers that came in to Ottawa.
Yeah.
Now, the argument that, oh no, let's get more of an abundance of evidence and data, and that will help us solve crimes. That is just if I've heard a lie before, that's a massive lie.
For the emergency truckers, actually, like,
that's one example, but everything else, there's so many non-legal crimes that they have abundance of evidence.
I'm saying like the one that's happened in the trucker convoy one. I don't think even like the police was in support of that. No, I don't think the cops even did anything on that side.
They get fired.
Yeah, they tried to kick him out, the chief of police, because there was no warrant. It just came from the executive branch.
My guy, they don't need warrants. They knew what was like some of those convoys driven from the western half of Canada.
The grounds that they used to go and freeze the account, to go and do all of these things, was not a legal ground.
Yeah, because they invoked the Emergencies Act.
Exactly. So what I'm saying here, it's not, you're not giving politicians.
No, I'm just kind of point at the kind of depraved mind they have. Where there is a high standard they have to meet to invoke an Emergencies Act that hasn't been used in God knows how long.
Yeah.
And it's still invoked anyway. Now want technology to enable this behavior.
Invoke and ask questions later. I don't think technology. No, but my own pushback is the fact that you're going to be able to have service providers providing services to the public without knowing what is happening on their platform. That I'm saying
is part one of Bill C-22, which I think most people in general do not have an issue with. Most people in general. I'm not one of those people who have an issue with the entire thing. Part two.
Let's go to part two.
The Minister of Public Safety can issue confidential orders, obviously subject to approval by the Intelligence Commissioner, compelling them to develop specific technical capabilities to assist investigations. That's the backdoor point. Before issuing the order, the minister must consider factors such as potential impact of privacy, cost, and cybersecurity. That's the new threshold for this nonsense that they're trying to do.
So the minister
should consider factors. He should consider it, but he can still do it anyway after he considers it. But he's now forcing ESPs to develop specific.
What I'm saying that platforms should be able to do.
No, that's a terrible idea.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Like develop specific technical capabilities to assist him. No, it's not your own. I'm saying like right access to basic information such as name, address, reference.
So pattern was where I was like, look, if you don't even know who is on your platform, is a red flag.
Know your customer, financial
institutions. But also, I'm also saying part two is fine. Yeah, because you should be able to say that. Read what I was saying in the part 2. You should be able to extract what is going on, not just who is doing it. Right? Part 1 is just like saying, oh, metadata around your platform. Like all these new platforms, they say we don't know the email, we don't know the name, we don't know the location, we don't know anything about what is going on our platform. That's what part 1 is trying to fix. Collect metadata, make sure it's unencrypted. If you're going to be encrypting the service data that you're doing on the platform, if you're sending emails, you're encrypting everything end to end. Remember, encryption is not, like I was telling you last week, end-to-end encryption is different from what people are doing. Like when you're going to HTTPS encryption is different from end-to-end encryption.
Yeah.
End-to-end encryption is that the service that is providing you everything does not even have access to the decryption key of the communication once it leaves your device till it gets to the other person's device. That other person also has their own decryption key.
I think I said this last week. It was time the government used to hire some of the smartest people in the world. They will take your device. They don't need anybody to do everything.
If you take the device, it's fine. And it's if you take the device, it's fine. CCS is not worried about people's devices. Right? And I think I'm fine with like CCS should not be able to have access to the things that I own. This is not a service provider. I own the device. This is not a service provider. Whatever is happening inside this device is my own thing. But whatever is stored on the service provider, is the service provider should be able to tell.
No, that contradicts the whole.
If you have the cash under your pillow, here's how should not know your customer and know what you're sending the money for. If I'm giving cash to commit crimes, that's a whole different thing.
Based on your theory, I don't think your theory is right, because if you own an Apple device, I think part of Bill C-22 is the government wants Apple to be able to get everything on your device and give it to them.
Really?
Yes.
The way I'm looking at core providers is like systems capable of intercepting, extracting, or providing data when legally.
This thing makes sense. Look at the list of companies: Apple, Meta, Signal, Winscribe. They've all said they'll likely pull their services from Canada as opposed to dealing with this whole mess, because it makes no sense. And me, I'm not a big fan of any of those companies that I've listed anyway, except maybe Signal. But the fact that they're like, yeah, you guys need to figure this out, like, this makes no sense. You should tell me that it actually makes no sense. This is the government just trying to find they don't want to do hard work. They don't want to do anything difficult.
I think there's some truth in what you're saying. What I'm saying is, can we all agree on the middle ground here?
That's what.
That the current warrant for telecommunications should stay. Like, the threshold for the warrant should still stay in place. What I think I would want with the government in campaigning is, if you're a service provider, specifically telecommunication service providers, the excuse of you have the data but is encrypted cannot work for knowing your customer, cannot work for understanding what your customer is doing on your platform.
My guy, nothing about Bill C-22 makes me feel good, because I have seen, thankfully, during the pandemic, how the government can overreach. And right now you're thinking criminal, blah, blah, blah. Tomorrow it will be as simple as, back in that 2021, there are some people who didn't get the 6 boosters. They only got 1 or 2.
Do you see the guy that got 1 booster or whatever boosters, and his hand is struggling to get the compensation for
people who have died from getting those, just the first vaccine. So it's like, yeah, let's call up Apple and Google, and like, we want to just get general data just of all Canadians, just all Canadians. Let's just see what they're saying about the vaccine.
The guy that watch all these YouTube channels, is he on your platform?
Yeah, your friends, right?
We want to be coming shortly.
But that's it, right? That's how these guys, because once again, they're human beings. There's nothing, because they have a title of police or whatever, peace officer, whatever they're trying to claim, does not mean that all of a sudden they've become angels. Like, they still have their biases, they have their shortcomings and whatnot, and that make them prone to abusing power.
True. I don't think we should change the levels of thresholds. Okay, that's something I would say I would agree with you.
If they not change the level of threshold, they should not create a backdoor, because once again, a backdoor is not only a backdoor for the government. Bad actors will have access to that backdoor.
No, there's no backdoor for just the government.
How do you interpret this thing?
There's no backdoor for the government.
How do you interpret
The
this?
government has to ask you to provide the data. The government is not just connecting a pipe to your data.
Listen, the Minister of Public Safety can issue confidential orders compelling. So you don't have a choice, the ESPs, to develop specific technical capabilities to assist investigations.
Yeah, but not to.
That statement is broad enough to mean anything. So any interpretation we're going to give now, sure, it's an interpretation of this. That statement can mean anything they want it to mean.
Sure, but what I'm saying is, like, sometimes I think we're thinking about backdoors. Government has a computer that is connected directly to the ESP.
No, what I said is they will compel the ESP to develop the technical capabilities. All the government wants is access to the data. So however the ESP does it, they are compelled to then do it and dump the data for the government.
So, okay, in that sense, you're saying that, okay, even though the reason that ESPs are setting up with end-to-end encryption is that they also don't want to even be able to touch data.
Yes. Now they're compelled to go.
Perfect. You don't want to touch data? Come out of the service providing business. Data is what you're providing.
My guy, well, this is another example of Canada over-regulating itself out of...
Come on, the service providing.
Come on, when all of them leave and then we're all left with our functions. How about who is the email provider that's going to operate in Canada?
Emails are not end-to-end encrypted. You can
Some of them
right now you ask for any of the emails, you get that data. The issue is that all these new boys on the block,
depends on the provider.
all these new boys on the block, all they want to do is they want to be the new boys on the block. They want to be the popular ones, take over all the communication, and yet not be able to provide data for crime happening on their platform.
See, this is
How would you be able to just we're living in a world where
we're misdiagnosing the public safety issue.
let's diagnose this.
The government has always struggled to efficiently, whether it's prevent or successfully prosecute crimes, whether they are digital or non-digital, it doesn't matter, despite an abundance of evidence, like I said. Now enforcing tech companies to create backdoors and whatnot, it just putting makeup on a pig. Like so she could figure out how to do proper intelligence, analytics, evidence gathering, and
We're saying the government to do something that is not supposed to be doing.
taxes in those parts. They're taking way too much money from Canadians. They should use that money and figure their stuff out. Like, their human beings, they need to work for their...
That's not the government to infringe on the privacy of individuals the other way.
How?
Because now you're saying,
Let me see, if they can hack end-to-end encryption, then they end it. Then they can have access to data.
see, if you can hack the end-to-end encryption, it's literally sending the government to do something that it's impossible to do.
Sure.
It's impossible to do. Like, the crazy thing is, if you're hacking end-to-end encryption, the service provider is the one that will, like, the reputation is just all gone.
Yeah, that I'm fine with.
No, I'm saying
they should go and hack it.
No, I don't think we should be sending governments to be doing like hacking for this just because we're trying to stop one criminal. They should all of a sudden start to do.
You're gonna get quantum
to come and like, that's not even efficient anyways. You cannot be a service provider. You cannot even be a bank in this country and come and be telling the government that money laundering is happening, but we're encrypted money laundering.
Banks have not promised end-to-end encryption. People don't sign up for bank accounts.
What do you mean?
Because they are told
sign up for Bitcoin for end-to-end encryption.
Bitcoin has there's not Bitcoin is public. The ledgers you can figure it out.
Now you can figure it out. It's not, but not decrypt it. You can't decrypt it. You can figure out who exactly.
Once again, that's because somebody had a brain.
You can figure out who is using Signal. Alright, call up Signal. We figured out this person was using Signal to come effectively perpetrate a crime.
Yes.
Give us the data. Signal is going to tell you what belongs to me. You don't have the data, or the data you cannot see the data, or the data we cannot reach the data. Okay.
If Signal could see the messages that its users are sending to each other, nobody will be on Signal. That's literally the core of their business, the encryption.
Yeah.
If you want to get raw data, you gotta meet people that are using text message. You gotta meet iPhone users that send text messages that are unencrypted.
So again, you're going to my point. The encryption is where the crime is driven.
No, not everybody that uses encryption is a criminal.
So if you're using encryption and you're not a criminal, you're fine. Nobody's calling.
No. I don't trust nobody. Justin Trudeau went and dipped his hand into his bank accounts, all because they don't want to have vaccines. Emergencies Act. Just because of that, I don't trust nobody that is sitting in that chair. So
I think at least my position is very simple. If you're an electronic service provider, you should not be in the business of saying, look, we cannot help. You don't even help. You cannot provide the data that the government has a warrant for.
Okay, let's take this one step further. What percentage of electronic service providers operating in Canada are Canadian?
I mean, yeah, the communication already we have.
What percentage of electronic service providers that are providing encrypted service today are Canadian?
I don't think any of them really are.
So now they create a backdoor on servers that do not sit in Canada. Whether or not they sit in Canada is probably irrelevant. They probably have redundancies.
You don't have to create it.
No, my point is, now you've created this massive global deployment of Canadian data that is unencrypted or minimally encrypted or encrypted with a backdoor key or however you want to, once again, put lipstick on a pig. It's just an ugly mess. It makes no sense. Because tomorrow, the Donald can just be like, oh, those Canadians, they told our people to unencrypt their data.
Yeah.
So let's just, now we have access. It's not Americans. We can spy on them.
You can spy on the data. But I think it should be one of those things where, look, if you're going to be doing, you don't have to, again, I think if you cannot afford to do it, it's fine. It's not for Canadians.
If you cannot afford to do what? To unencrypt the data.
If you cannot afford to know when there's crime happening on your platform,
my guy, people would go.
It's not for Canadian. If you can, as a service provider, if you cannot figure out when someone is doing criminal activities on your platform, and you're holding your job, gee, it's your platform. The crime is going on your platform.
Once again, the Canadian government is taking too much tax revenue from Canadians to now tell me that CSIS and CSE and DND and RCMP cannot do their job of making sure Canadians are safe.
To be fair, when horses were fast, they were able to do the jobs. They were wanted properly.
Yeah, and RCMP. I'm not going to cancel our show because of...
I think it's fascinating, to be honest. I know you have been there. I think it's just a fascinating thing. Like, I saw like the Toronto police who was, they were also
in Ottawa. You see them on
the horses were popular. Like, dude, man, this is literally an environmental crisis. But anyways, I think you should, decrypting end-to-end encryption is not, like, from a technical standpoint, this is not come and hack. This, like, literally, I need to put it in people's mind. This is not come and hack.
Then use the human element, do a sting operation, do anything, infiltrate. Like, there are other ways. Like, once again, why am I doing their jobs for them? End-to-end encryption is not the solution to the inadequacies of our justice system. It's not. It's just not. Like, if anything, we're just going to open a massive can of worms for Canadians that will just end up in the Stone Ages as a result of.
Man, I'm not super sure, to be honest. Like, I don't know what you're like. End-to-end encryption was literally 2 years ago, brother.
It doesn't matter.
You know, what were we communicating before 2 years, before Bitcoin came on the scene?
I mean, we were texting plain text the whole time before RCS messaging came. That does not mean we should go back to once again. It doesn't mean we should go back.
Again, when you're texting and you have a warrant, whoever you're texting on the platform with, whoever owns the platform you're texting with, can be subpoenaed.
Well, so who owns the platform? If you're using Google Messages, for example, or Apple Messages for texting, who owns the platform?
Google owns the platform. And Google is not promising, end-to-end encryption.
RCS messages are...
They're not end-to-end. Nobody's encrypting. What do you mean end-to-end encrypted? There's no way you're end-to-end encrypting nothing.
So if it's not encrypted, what is the police?
The only person that will encrypt, RCS is fine. Usually you can go to Google and ask for you, and you'll give it to you.
So if they can access...
The issue is the WhatsApp and the Signal. And all these guys.
Is WhatsApp even end-to-end encrypted?
The metadata are not. The metadata, you can call and you can figure that one out. The content is usually, Instagram just even disable the end-to-end encryption too. Right, all these new things are coming out in the messaging and communications that are like, dude, everything about you is end-to-end encrypted on their platform. You don't even know what you're doing. That's the issue with Signal. You don't even know when you're doing sex trafficking. You don't know when you're doing prostitution rings. You don't know when you're doing all these.
So what you're saying is that because you want Signal to know when criminals are doing criminal things, they should then just blanketly spy on everyone.
That's the only way all of this. Literally, they're about to sue OpenAI because they say child is messaging on OpenAI and is because
they have a budget for it. They're all right. That's how businesses operate.
No, there's an expectation that if something heinous is happening on your platform, you should be able to detect, you should be able to report, you should be able to act on it.
Like I said, OpenAI has a budget for dealing with that lawsuit, and they will learn from the lawsuit and they will act accordingly.
And then they enter
That's just how life works.
Encrypt it.
I don't know what they will do, but they don't just now because of this. Now we're just gonna have just a blanket spying on everybody.
There's no blanket spying. It's just a blanket. Look, if there's warrant for it, it's coming out. Nobody is just looking. Nobody is just sitting there listening. What is you sending to Arsenal because they won? No,
you don't know that.
Nobody is doing that.
You don't know that.
Nobody is doing that.
Like I said, all of these people involved, both the platform, both the police, they're all human beings. You never know the one that will now some wires in their brains will be crossed and then they start doing weird things. It's unencrypted. You were thinking about it from the point of view of exfiltrating data. What of planting evidence? Isn't that possible?
It's fully possible. It's unencrypted, but I'm saying those are things that it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, we're opening a big can of worms that we don't need to open.
Anyways, I'm like again, I've moved my position a bit. Let's remove the drops in the requirements for the warrant. Let's move to a situation where people are we're still using the existing warrant, but we should ask electronic service providers, especially if you're doing communication, you should know when crime is happening on your platform, simple and short. But then when you say, oh, you're moving the onus of crime to the service providers, so now we should now, okay, if you don't want to know when we ask you, because we have done all the work to know that crime was happening on your platform, give us the data. You should be able to give us the data. We can't say, oh, you don't want to find when crime is happening on your platform. We should go and find out when crime is happening on your platform. We are finding that crime is happening on your platform. Okay, now tell us what is going on with this. You say, okay, no, we cannot tell you.
It's not. It's encrypted. And the problem with that whole scenario is that now, if you say warrant, if there's a warrant for Mr. A, they should only be able to access Mr. A based on that warrant.
Yeah.
What they're asking for is a master key for all of the Mr. A, B, C, D to Z.
No, they're not asking for everything.
That's the only thing that
you should be able to
if you can get access to Mr. A's data, you can get access to anybody else's.
All service providers can get access. All normal service providers before 2015 could get access to everybody's data.
Law enforcement is not blind. They should take the device and figure out how to access anything that's not encrypted. Or they should, like I said, use traditional investigation. Infiltrate.
How
did they do investigations back in the day?
No, in the way we were catching the messages out of the air. When you catch the message out of the air, it's all gibberish. You see that? Because everything is end-to-end encrypted. So even if you put money in the middle, all you see is gibberish.
You know, Apple was the one who claimed that allowing the Canadian government to force companies to break encryption by inserting backdoors into their products is something they will never do. So this idea of backdoors, not me that came up with it. Apple,
they are all just introduced luxury shit. I agree with you that the old ones are crazy. The new ones are getting better. I will still push back on this.
This is all Bill C-22.
Yeah.
Just this is all from
Bill C-22 this year.
Yeah.
Just introduced when it was 92. Like 2 years ago. There have been a few years.
And all of them got shut down for there was one to package it as combating child trafficking, and
that's where most of this is coming from.
My problem is that the fact that they try to hide it under that kind of title just shows me the kind of mind these people have. They also try to hide it in McCartney's Strong Borders Act last year.
Yeah, they try to do that, yeah.
As section 14 and 15, it's like in a massive bill. They try to sneak it in and the whole thing got like... The fact that you're thinking about it this way, you can just know that the human mind is depraved. I don't trust them with anything. I don't have anything to hide, but I don't trust them.
Also, why are we arguing on the minor part of communication? Every other part of communication is fine for everybody because they can go and request everybody's data for communication. It's just the minor encrypted one that is causing problems. And the minor encrypted one is heavily used by criminals.
as well as non-criminals.
Non-criminals, nobody be using. And also too, and also too, I use end-to-end encrypted stuff, but it's not hosted by a service provider. It's hosted by me.
That's your personal choice.
If you want to come and require from my own criminal activity, which I don't have anyone, say, I don't do nothing. Non-existent criminal activities, brothers and sisters. No, but if you want to come and check, you can come and ask me, or you can come and go to your house and wait, or you have a chance to search your properties, everything, you see everything, and you go from there. The issue is millions and millions of people, and maybe out of the millions, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of them are criminals.
Hundreds of thousands
is a very low number on some of this end-to-end encrypted stuff. They are hiding and in plain sight doing some of the most heinous criminal activities.
You see, the criminal activity does not happen in the end-to-end encrypted
It happens in the
conversation about it. There is this about it. It's all good actions.
No. I'm saying in the end-to-end encrypted conversations, how the criminal. You can indict people based on the fact that you're sending exploitative sex content. You can do it for sex trafficking. You can do it for.
My point is that there is a non-digital act that's tied to all of those criminal activity. Go there and make your arrest. Earn your wages, please. I'm gonna go on one more socialist rant here. There's no need for this investing taxes from socialist areas that are working hard to make a living. Only for you to now come and start pushing easy buttons all over the place because you're just distributing the money to run money things. Use all that money. Hire people who can do proper traditional investigation. Let's not easy button is not the way out to anything because, like I said, kind of worms.
I agree, easy button is not the way out, but I don't think people understand when it comes to end-to-end encrypted. You are basically asking the government to be able to fly, float, sync at the same time.
They ask us to do all of those things
and still pay your taxes on time.
So.
I always know myself.
You have too much credence to the government of Canada.
No, for me, I'm saying
all human beings.
They're all human beings, but if you're trying to give them the opportunity to do the job that you want them to do, which is to protect their citizens. Protecting the citizens, there's a lot that can be done if we stop allowing service providers to allow criminal activities to happen on their platform.
They have a job to do. Those of us that are paying taxes, when we have jobs to do, we don't create bills that compel anybody to make our jobs easier. So, as you earn your paycheck, just do your job.
Fair.
And leave Canadians alone to do their jobs. That's all I'm saying.
I'm in my position a bit, but I'm still not convinced fully. And I will do, I think we'll let the audience know or decide what else can be done. I think most people think it's just a privacy backdoor or bust. I'm just saying, look, service providers, let's be all collaborative.
My guy, this is just step one towards surveillance state, which is where they want to get to.
We were already in a surveillance state.
Yes, so let's not make it worse. It doesn't make it worse.
I'm just saying, all you new boys on the block, you need to know when crime is happening on your platform.
Then, like I said, do your job.
Okay, do your job.
Traditional investigation.
Let us all do our jobs.
Let us all do our jobs.
I think it's a good place actually because it's only 11.
It's late.
Anyway, well, I don't know if you had any thoughts you wanted to add.
Only thing is, there's already there's lots of countries that are already doing them on this. What's been still?
Yeah, I'm sure Singapore, China, US after 9/11.
Yeah, Australia.
So Signal does not work in US. Signal works in US. I wonder how they bypass that.
Well, no. So the government can require companies to extract to provide them with data. But then again, all I've found is India as well, and Germany is another country. But then they also have really, really strong checks and balances to make sure that you're not just trying to request data for any random person. yeah, it's
Because the checks and balances the minister must consider for FVC impacts.
it's like prior judicial authorization. They have to be neutral judges. It has to be necessary and proportional test. It has to be written reasons, and reasons have to be detailed.
It was any of them secret ministerial orders, because that
I'm trying to find that we don't have secret. Okay, how about we just take the one that is existing and bring it into Bill 622 and remove all these jargons?
Someone is saying, why didn't we talk about Telegram?
Telegram is
Telegram they don't have access. Telegram they have access on Telegram.
yeah. Telegram
Which is the signal one, and all of some of these are end-to-end encrypted from the beginning to the end.
So yeah, no, like these places, they have some of the, at least the US. Even with the US with Apple, which is why I'm kind of confused as to why Apple is complaining in Canada when like the US.
The US does not have access to the device with Apple. The user has access to the cloud with Apple. I think Canada is trying to get access to the device, which is what I'm saying. No, we shouldn't have access to.
So while U.S. intelligence and law enforcement agencies, they already have very broad data gathering powers under like the Cloud Act and FISA, the U.S. has not successfully passed a blanket encryption backdoor mandate.
There's no backdoor mandate. There's literally people call backdoor.
Have proposed legislation designed to force tech companies to break encryption, such as the Lawful Access to Encrypted Data Act, and it has always failed. So that is exactly what Canada is trying to do.
No, Canada is trying to do the iPhone phone one, which is trying to take service, because the whole issue started with service providers, and people are like, dude, service providers are too broad. A doctor can be a service provider. Can we just limit it to communication service providers? And that's what I was like, okay, yeah, so this is pretty reasonable.
Also, Bill C-22 will be considered illegal under EU privacy frameworks anyway. Like, GDPR has like literally the right to private. Like,
this is not. That's why I'm telling you, this is not a privacy play. I've been trying to tell you guys, like, it's not a privacy. We are conflicting two different things.
So like yeah, with EU, it says access to personal data requires legal basis, necessity, and proportionality. But then yet you can still get access.
It's not a people. We have to do C-22 and privacy are two different things.
and that's Nigeria, no.
They are two different things.
That's what the government of Canada would like you to believe.
Like, if somebody can see your roof, are you private?
See, all this word,
You can see it. But
I told you what. See, one, the threshold for accessing the data way too low in.
I agree. I'm with you. Let's also increase it.
Number two, the fact that based on secret ministerial orders, they can compel electronic service providers to build technical capabilities to assist in investigations. That's just a wild, vague sentence that means anything to anybody.
Maybe you should scope it down.
Maybe we should scope it down.
You should scope it down. It's fine. I think it's reasonable, but maybe scope it down. I'll grant you that.
That's the teeth of Bill C-22.
No, the teeth of the city is those new boys on the block.
That's what it's all about. Expedite access.
The reason for expedite access, the new boys on the block don't even want to allow for metadata to be on there, to provide metadata,
because the customer acquisition is literally tied to end-to-end encryption and minimal data collection.
Oh, you new boys on the block, come, let's all come together as a country and decide that we're doing what's in the best interest for humanity. Because you're benefiting from crime, and then you'll be putting your nose up to the moon and be like, you know what, encryption, meanwhile money is printing in your bag.
Guy, you know what the crime is? The crime is Canadians working hard and paying taxes to a government that will not now do their investigation job properly to keep Canadians safe.
They're saying encryption is their product. Their product is not encryption.
No, their customer acquisition is based on their encryption.
That criminal acquisition.
This is a criminal acquisition. You can call all their customers criminal.
I'm not saying all their customers criminal. And that's why I'm saying it's criminal acquisition, because customers are not what are paying them. It's the criminals that are paying them. Literally.
My guy, the government doesn't need digital backdoors to do investigation. They've been doing investigation for decades, and there are very solid investigative techniques that they have not even explored before looking for the easy button. So, like, Canadian government can miss me with any easy button they try to do in this life, because it's not gonna fly unless they are willing to reduce our taxes to essential.
Wow. I'm a promise. So if we give you $0 tax now, it's like, okay, let's open up all the encryption doors.
So give me $0 tax and they build the surveillance state. Then I'm like, I have to make a decision. What is more important to me?
The $0 tax, your friend.
But once again, I have a choice.
Yes.
No. So Bill C-22 is just it's a waste of paper and time, and our MPs and whatnot, they have better things to worry about. Please, this should just be scrapped.
I don't think there's any. We're gonna catch the criminals.
I'm also ways to catch the criminals.
I just wanted to clarify last week, so because I feel like people do not understand where I was coming from. And where I'm going down. No, I didn't really. I'm trying to just make sure that people know that where I'm coming from is, if you're a service provider, know when crime is happening on your platform.
That's an unrealistic ask.
It's, to be honest, don't be in the service.
If you're a country, know when crime is happening in your country.
Yeah.
If you're a local government, know when crime is happening in your local. If you're a police precinct, know when crime is happening in your neighborhood. Well, if all of those people are doing all of those things, you don't need the service providers to do anything.
This guy, I think you're living in a world where you think that people would. It's like
if the entire life cycle of that crime exists,
the life cycle of the crime, when you should just be able to stop crime before it happens, and you're seeing like some digital crime and footprint already.
It doesn't mean digital crime. The entire life cycle of the crime does not happen in digital space.
Anyways, I'm not going to belabor this point. I'm not going to just accept that Bill 22, it can be better.
They should present a referendum. That's
you know how they will quote it. Should we legally ban Bill 22, or should we legally ask the 22 previous times to bring it back, or should we just use what US or EU use? It's what we should just. Since we're baby brothers. Anyways, so it's fun.